respond to this editorial.
Democrats willing to work long hours for Arkansas executive moving to Washington. Good morning, America. I'm Charles Gibson. That's the want ad these days.
And I'm Joan Lennon. It is Friday, November 6th. All right, maybe it's not that simple.
Sure it is.
In fact, no, you saw that book of all those different jobs that they have to fill. It's amazing.
Thousands and thousands.
Even Bill Clinton himself said the task of putting together a new team of leaders was mind-boggling. But we're still curious, who is the president-elect likely to pick for his cabinet and all the other key posts? Our political insider, Chris Matthews, will join us from Little Rock with the latest scoop. Spence?
Well, Joan, ahead this hour, we'll have a detailed look at the weekend weather, and here's a sneak peek for you. The east will be basically cold and dry. The west will be basically stormy and stormy. And we'll tell you more about that a little bit later.
From coast to coast or yuck to yuck.
Did you have a second word in mind and decided not to use it, or what happened there?
Just decided to say it twice. It's so stormy.
All right, we're going to have the story we mentioned a moment ago about the transition that's coming as we move from a Bush to a Clinton administration. Also this morning, though, we're going to be talking about the party on the outs, the Republican Party, already regrouping. That means that very soon you might see a new breed of Republican leader. And we're going to be talking about who the new Republicans might be in this half hour as well. But let's go right to the news. And leading the news at this hour, President-elect Clinton prepares to make some major changes. And Mike Schenner has that story on the news of the day. Mike?
Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everybody. From the sounds of it, it won't take all that long to start seeing some big changes once Bill Clinton does get to Washington. Reports this morning say Clinton may issue a series of executive orders early next year. One to do away with the so-called abortion gag rule, and another to end the military ban on homosexuals. Clinton himself has said nothing about any of this. He's been very busy getting back to people like Boris Yeltsin and the other foreign leaders who've called him up after the election to congratulate him. And Clinton is still putting together the team that will get his administration up and running. Details on that now from ABC's Mike Von Fremd.
Bill Clinton says he has a lot of homework to do before announcing a team that will pass the test.
Oh, we're putting together the transition team, and I'm reading volumes of stuff on things that I need to decide on.
And he insists that his top aides keep a tight lip about the process, so anyone with inside information had best think twice before going out in public.
No, I really don't have anything to say. Not at all. I'm sorry not to be able to help at all.
Warren Christopher is the most prominent member of the transition planners, a seasoned group of former government leaders who are themselves on the short list for cabinet positions.
I am satisfied.
Vernon Jordan, former head of the Urban League and a Washington lawyer. Henry Cisneros, former mayor of San Antonio. Madeleine Kunin, former governor of Vermont, and campaign chairman and longtime Clinton friend Mickey Cantor. Democratic Party Chairman Ron Brown set off speculation that he too is about to join the transition team after showing up in Little Rock. Senior campaign aides such as Communications Director George Stephanopoulos are expected to receive jobs in the White House, but others such as senior strategist James Carville, who love the campaign but have no intention of serving in government, make fun of the process.
Hey guys, they didn't give me steak. I don't know what to say. I'll quit.
The number of names being circulated for potential cabinet posts could fill a phone book. Many are Washington lawyers and former Carter administration aides anxious to get back into government. But for some, that may be wishful thinking because they are not exactly the new kind of Democrat Bill Clinton is talking about bringing to Washington. Mike?
What about the pace that we're talking about here, Michael? How quickly is Clinton prepared to act on not only these kind of things, but on the other things we discussed a little bit earlier?
Well, I think on bringing people into his government, he's going to go very slow. He wants to check them out. He knows that it's an important signal who he brings in, and he wants to make sure he's got the right people. There are some things, though, he can do with a stroke of a pen, and there's word that he's thinking about on day one changing some of the gag rules with regard to abortion counseling and also fetal tissue research.
Well, we're getting a clear sense here that this administration is not going to be populated by old friends of the president-elect, nor a close circle of old Arkansas colleagues.
Bill Clinton has been a governor that's been on the national scene. He seems to want to draw from a lot of people, and perhaps many people outside of government.
All right, Mike, thanks very much. ABC's Mike Von Fremd, live for us this morning in Little Rock, Arkansas. Other news on this Friday morning, the long trade quarrel over European farm subsidies threatens to become an outright trade war. The United States has now threatened punishing tariffs on European imports, starting with French white wine, unless the European community cuts its subsidies to its producers, the farmers, the oilseed producers over there, and others. Trade Representative Carla Hill says it's a correction that must be made.
I'm very hopeful that we won't have to go further than we have had to go today, and that we will have an immediate solution. But we are prepared to try to right the balance sheet, as I've said, and to do so in a manner that is calculated to have positive action by the Europeans. At the same time, it causes the least amount of harm to our home market.
These new tariffs are set to go into effect in 30 days, but European and American negotiators are still talking, still working on some sort of agreement. Now to the Mideast and the speech that Jordan's King Hussein gave last night. The king said he is coming back to the United States next month to see if a recent operation cured him of cancer. He also talked about the Mideast and how things are changing there. And they are changing. We get more on the story now from ABC's Dean Reynolds.
The king's address, which was monitored here by Israeli television, included what appeared to be his first public attack on Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. The king, who had been an outspoken supporter of the Iraqi ruler, last night said it was time for the Arab people, quote, to stand up to the ambitious and the renegades, to protect their capitals from those who would advocate tyranny or tie the destiny of nations to individuals. The speech marked the second policy shift in as many weeks for the Jordanian monarch. Last week, Jordan's delegation to the Middle East peace talks agreed with Israel for the first time on a specific agenda for reaching a peace treaty. It is the biggest advance so far in the year-long negotiations, and while it may not seem like all that much, other Arab partners to the peace talks are anxious now about being left behind. The Palestinians, for example, fear that progress on the Israeli-Jordanian track will undermine their cause. PLO leader Yasser Arafat is said to be considering a trip to Amman soon to try and talk King Hussein out of the agreement. But King Hussein appears to have an eye on the history books now. He has ruled Jordan for 40 years and may want a peace treaty as part of his legacy. More to the point, the king has cancer. He will undergo regular therapy now at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. His chances for a recovery are uncertain. And last night he seemed to be trying to allay the concerns of his countrymen about what will happen to Jordan when he is gone. Said the king, the life of an enlightened people and a vibrant nation cannot be measured by the life of one individual. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
Back in this country, Magic Johnson appeared last night on ABC's Primetime Live and said he retired from basketball because some other NBA players did not want to compete against somebody with the AIDS virus. Johnson also talked to our Chris Wallace about the lifestyle that led him to contract the AIDS virus. A lifestyle with many sexual partners, a lifestyle he is now urging others to avoid making the same kind of mistake.
Morally, it's wrong. You know, it's easy for me to sit here and say that now. If you ask me if I had fun, yes, I had fun. Did you reach all your fantasies? Yes, I did. But you paid for it.
Primetime also reported last night that a woman is suing Magic Johnson that she claims he infected her with the AIDS virus. Johnson has said that he slept with the woman, but that he doesn't know if he infected her or if she infected him or if they contracted the virus from some other people. That is the news. Till now, time to check in with Charlie and Spencer.
As always, Magic, very frank, very outspoken last night. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. 8 minutes after the hour, Spencer here with the National Weather Forecast, and he's going to tell you what it's going to be like for the weekend right in your very neighborhood.
In fact, I may come and give you a personal forecast in your own backyard.
Not bad.
Okay, here we go, to the maps. Starting with today, as we generally launch into the weekend with a Friday outlook. This Friday, it's going to be a generally calm day across the 48 contiguous states. We do have one little area of disturbed weather pushing out of the eastern slopes of the central Rockies into the central plains. Look for a light dusting of snow over.
At the state capitol, President-elect Bill Clinton has been meeting with top advisors and talking by telephone to foreign leaders, but he's not talking about who's being considered for what jobs. Well, one of our political insiders, Chris Matthews, a Washington bureau chief for the San Francisco Examiner, has been in Little Rock since Election Day. He joins us from our affiliate, KATV, to tell us what he's been able to find out. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, John.
The president-elect has said that he is going to focus like a laser on the economy for the first few months of his administration. So who might be the likely one to be chosen as Secretary of the Treasury?
Well, John, I want to tell you, watching the sort of trying to figure out what the king is thinking tonight down here, I think it's going to be what we'll be doing for the next 4 or 8 years in this country. I think the transition is in Bill Clinton's head right now. I think he's keeping a balancing act between all the people that want to work for him. And I also think that's the way he's going to run his administration. There's not going to be a strong chief of staff, and whoever is Secretary of State is going to be basically working for Bill Clinton. He's going to be his own Secretary of State. But given all that, he has a couple problems he has to solve. He's a Democrat, which scares a lot of people. And secondly, He's 46 years old, which scares a lot of people. So I expect that his first appointment is going to be symbolic at Treasury, and he's going to name a grown-up, someone much older than him. I would say the person he names as Treasury Secretary, but at least 15 years older than him, someone who's clearly seen as a veteran of economic policy and a centrist. There'll be no left-wingers coming in to run the Treasury Department. So I think the best bet is Lloyd Bentsen of Texas, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, who ran for vice president very effectively 4 years ago, who is also very well respected in the business community. Another good bet is Paul Volcker, who was Federal Reserve Chairman, who was appointed by Jimmy Carter, and basically destroyed inflation in this country. So I think he'll pick a very serious, as I said, a grown-up, someone to offset his own Democratic Party affiliation and his own youth.
Well, you brought it up yourself. The president-elect does not have extensive foreign policy. That makes people nervous. So who might he choose as a Secretary of State?
Well, the truth is he has zip foreign policy experience. He has none. I mean, the joke during the campaign that George Bush used to use on him was his only foreign policy experience was going to the International House of Pancakes. So I would expect he's going to go where the pros are. I would expect he'll go with continuity, which is a word he used the other day in his statement. I think he'll pick Warren Christopher, the Los Angeles lawyer and the former Undersecretary of State, someone who's very familiar. There's another possibility, though. He could go with another expert on foreign policy in the U.S. Senate, a man who's respected on third world debt issues and other foreign policy economic issues in particular. That's Bill Bradley, the senator from New Jersey. His name is being pushed pretty hard by some people.
Any women that are likely to get some key appointments?
Well, I think he's going to go with Marion Wright Edelman, who's head of the Children's Defense Fund. You know, his wife, Hillary, Governor Clinton's wife, Hillary, is on the board of that group. I think she will have some influence in these appointments. I'd expect you're going to see Marion Wright Edelman in a major cabinet post. Now, the other one, I think, is Madeline Kunin, who's the former governor of Vermont, who's been very active down here. She's part of the transition team. I would expect that she could end up at the Environmental Protection Agency or the Department of Interior.
On election night, we also heard an appeal made by Clinton to independents and Republicans. Any takers or any thoughts on that one?
I would put big money on the former popular governor of New Jersey, Tom Kean. He's a moderate Republican, a man who pushed education real strong in New Jersey. Even conservative Republicans like Tom Kean. He got passed over by George Bush. I think he's going to get a big job. I'd put money on him to be Secretary of Education.
All throughout the campaign, Clinton and Gore kept calling themselves the New Democrats. What is a New Democrat?
Well, we're going to find out, Joan. You know, I've talked to everybody down here trying to figure out what this New Democratic Party is all about. The real ideologues around Clinton, who are pretty conservative people, say it's no more of this big spending, no more liberalism like Tip O'Neill or Ted Kennedy. It's going to be a new kind of Democrat. It's going to be fiscally centrist, responsible, aimed at the business community, at economic growth, at tax cutting. It's going to be much more like the Republican Party than the old Democratic Party. Then you ask other people what it means, and they said, oh, it's the old Democratic Party with sparkle, with verve. In other words, it's purely stylistic and youth and generational. So I think we're going to have to watch the next 2 weeks and see who he picks. And I think those people are going to personify the New Democratic Party.
We'll also have to watch some of the New Democrats come up against some of the old Democrats in Congress.
Well, I would bet on the New Democrats because they have the power now.
All right, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan.
15 minutes after a new breed of Republican leaders when Good Morning America continues. A portrait of evil, Robert Duvall as dictator Joseph Stalin in our next half hour.
17 minutes now after the hour. After 12 years of setting its sails by the bright star of the Reagan Revolution, the Republican Party now finds itself out of power and some say adrift. And the question really is, where do Republicans go from here? Do they try to revive the Reagan Revolution or find a new star by which to navigate? Well, joining us from Washington this morning, two of the party's ablest sailors, Secretary of Labor Lynn Martin and Republican strategist Babe Buchanan, who you'll recall managed her brother Pat's primary campaign. Good to have you both with us. Let me start with you, Lynn Martin. There has long been a split in the Republican Party between the conservative right and the more moderate center. Certainly, Ronald Reagan papered that over, covered it over ever since 1980. Does it reappear now in the party?
I don't think covered it over, by the way, is the right word. I think what Republicans were able to do was to reach out to a lot of people with a shared economic agenda and moving America forward. And what we have to remember, and I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, but it's especially important for Republicans to remember, is you have to get 51% in the vote in most elections. I mean, this last one may have been a little unusual. Therefore, we have to make sure that there's a place in the party for people who believe in the rights of individuals, who believe in less government, who believe when you do government, you do it very well. And that is part, that isn't giving up the Reagan Revolution, I can't think of a bigger mistake to do than forget that, I think, a superb time when we produced jobs, when people's economic futures were more secure. Now we have to move on to that. We don't do it by destroying any part of our base, but we sure do it by enlarging it, and we have to do that. You can't build a party on hate. You can't build a party on just being against something. You have to go back to the people's agenda, and that's what Ronald Reagan had done. When George Bush was going very well, that's what we were doing, and that's what we have to do again.
Babe Buchanan, I hear Lynn Martin saying the party needs to be a big tent. It needs to move into the center as a representative of what is generally seen as the right wing of the Republican Party. How do you respond to that?
I think that's what we've done wrong here, and that is why we lost the White House. What we need as a party is we need to stand for something. We have to have strong beliefs and have strong convictions that we're willing to stand up for, which then say to everyone in this country, listen, this is where we stand. These are our beliefs. Come join us, because this is the direction we want to take this nation. If you think that this is the right direction, but you might not agree with everything, but this is the right direction as opposed to that direction, come join us. But we have to have fundamental beliefs that we stand by. We can't be going out there pandering to different groups and saying, we'll give this up if you'll come with us. That's not the way to go. We have to stand up and be somebody.
Obviously, you know what, if I may, you have to, of course you stand for something. This is the party of Lincoln. We do stand for something, for individuals, for the ability of government to stay out of people's lives. But, babe, I think we might actually be saying the same thing, but I think you have to do it very carefully. You don't do that by saying, here's every single thing you ever had in life that you have to believe in. We're going to be your church, not just your party. We're going to be everything to you, and if you don't agree with every single thing, goodbye.
We have never done that,
Republicans are into, I'm not saying we
Some
have.
people feel you did at the convention, Dave.
No, we did not at the convention. That's what many would like to believe. We
The convention wasn't good enough to lay out our platform,
Charlie, that people keep saying was changed, was different. It's the same platform we ran on 12 years ago, 8 years ago, and 4 years ago with the same man we ran this year. And we won with a mandate in this country.
But you know the Democrats, after the Johnson presidency, the Democrats seemed to get very narrowly ideologically focused. They kept nominating liberals. They kept losing. And a lot of people feel if the right captures the Republican Party the way the left captured the Democratic Party, that you're in for a string of losses.
Charlie, we won with conservative people. We won and took this country over and ran this country with conservatives. When George Bush then went back and became that moderate without the definition that we had held years before, we lost. We will win again when we go back to our base. What energizes a party? What gets people out there is beliefs, not by just being some kind of a social club.
Well, first of all, no one is suggesting that, and I'm saying, again, as someone who's worked in this party, as of you, Bay, when I supported you, and I hope you supported me, there's a lot of different people that have to be part of a party. But don't redefine what conservatives are. I'm a conservative. So are you. We may have differing views on some parts of the issue, but that is going to be true for the Republican Party. And I think that anytime you lose elections, by the way, you look back and you say, hey, this is what's wrong. Not my agenda, bluntly not your agenda. What can we do to make sure that the things we're for, we do a better job of making sure the American people and the Republican Party are in sync. And if there isn't room in any party, as the Democrats cut off people, then that party won't succeed. And I say, welcome back. We're going to hold the Democrats' feet to the fire. We're going to make sure that what we said about taxation and spending stays on there, and we're going to come back in victory as Republicans, all of us.
All right, Lynn Martin, Babe Buchanan, thank you both for being with us. Good to see you. It's
thing is based on the fact that not some men, all men are by nature, are in fact weenies.
Exactly. I mean, human history proves it. We start out with Conan the Barbarian, we end up with Ward Cleaver, Weed Eater Man. You know, here in the 20th century, it's just declined to the point where, see, women have known this for a long time, but men have only recently come to realize this. So what you do is you take these poor, pathetic guys and you get them to admit it. You get them to say, I am a weenie. I am 34 years old. I'm still living at home, watching too much Star Trek and leaving Doritos crumbs all over the pillow. I am a weenie. Now, once you get them to say that, you've got something to start with. And so you ask yourself the question, what did the caveman have that the modern man does not have?
An arrow. Is that right?
No, that's not. That's not right, Harry.
I read too much of the book.
Amateurs should not try this stuff, Harry.
Okay,
Let me fill you in. The caveman had a long, rigid spear. I call it the ancient spear.
That's it.
Now, your ancient spear is missing. That's what's wrong with my, well, I mean, maybe not missing, you know, maybe it's just gone limp or gone soft or something. You forgot how to use it or something like that. But what I try to do is I teach men to get in touch with their spear.
Right.
And this will change your life. I mean, when I first went to one of these things, I was so moved by it, I didn't want to bathe for 2 years. That's how manly I felt. You know, normally I'd want to bathe once every 2 weeks or so. So it changes your life that much.
If I signed up and went to one of your seminars, what might happen in a typical weekend?
Well, we'd put you through the 5 phases, Harry. Through you know, we start out with sweating, yelling, crying, beating on a drum, and then ripping your shirt off, even if it's expensive. And it does change. We have a ceremony called separating from the mother. This was an ancient ceremony that they did because modern men never separate from their mothers. You know, they spend, of course, we still have a modern ceremony. It's called the get a job ceremony now.
That's the real separation.
But we have a ceremony where we sit in a circle and we pass the stick around, and whoever has the stick, they get to talk. And they talk about how dysfunctional they are. And then we string them up and put these crooked sticks through their chest like a man called horse. Yeah. And then they don't care how dysfunctional they are anymore.
Not anymore. Well, I've got the stick now, and it's time. We got to go. Iron
Went
Joe
so
Bob.
fast.
Joe Bob, I appreciate it. Good to see you again.
All right, good to see you.
See you in Grapevine. Paula?
And in spite of all your deficiencies, guys, we still love you. 23 minutes before the hour, coming up next on CBS This Morning, Heroes in Health and the people of the Angel Plains.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always comes through. It's decaffeinated too.
Mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. It gives you something the other leading brand doesn't. Richer aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
What you're about to see is not a pretty sight. Look what ugly tartar can do to your family's teeth. Now look at the difference when you see the dentist regularly and brush with a tartar control toothpaste like Aquafresh. Dentists know the ingredients in those Aquafresh stripes fight cavities and fight tartar buildup. As a mom, I know Aquafresh freshens breath with a taste the whole family loves. Even me. So we all like brushing more. Tartar Control Aquafresh. It's striped to fight.
Just a hoot and a holler from Nashville's Grand Ole Opry is another place that's home to musicians from all over the world. It's Groon Guitars, where they sell rare and vintage instruments to everyone from Johnny Cash to Motley Crue. So if you go, remember, bring your pick and your Visa card. Because at Groon, you can take your licks on a 1939 Martin, but you can't take it home with American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
I feel fantastic. For 40 years, I've been eating grape nuts and feeling great.
Why does John Flays love grape nuts so much?
If I eat something like grape nuts that is fat-free, I feel good.
Grape nuts, the fat-free natural energy source.
I'm talking about a natural energy that stays with you all morning. I love the taste of grape nuts, and I like the texture of it. Trying other cereals brings me right back to grape nuts.
Breakfast with post-grape nut cereal helps keep you going strong all morning long.
Take a week. Try them. I know you're going to like them.
This morning's health segment is sponsored by Drix Oral, the 12-hour prescription strength cold medicine. Drix Oral.